千里之行，始于足下. A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we take a deep dive into the Daodejing by Lao Zi. So I have a slide here. The title says, Drink water, think of source. This is actually a very common expression in Mandarin, in Chinese. 饮水思源. Literally, the 4 characters translate to the English title that you see. First character is to drink. Second character means water. Third character is to think or to contemplate, to reflect upon. Yuan, last character, is the source of the water. So the wisdom is that you're not just drinking water, you're being mindful about where that water came from. This is used as a metaphor for thinking about your life and then considering, reflecting, contemplating where your life originated. So this expression is used where people in the West talk about ancestor worship as a misconception. I initially found out about this still a teenager at the time when I was going through a class on world religions. This class was taught by an elderly Catholic priest. So students in the class asked the teacher, why do Asians worship their ancestors? Now, this priest was extremely knowledgeable about Catholicism, but he did not really know, just like most people, he didn't really know about the background information, the foundation of Asian thought. So he said, he guessed. He said, I think maybe the Asian people were fearful of the spirits of their ancestors. So the ritual that was practiced in, ancestor worship was meant to placate them, so these spirits would not punish their descendants with some kind of curse. So I realized back then that this was a misunderstanding, but then subsequent to that, I also encountered more and more people who expressed the same ideas. That indicated the misconception was widespread. And someplace where I did not expect the misconception would show up was actually back in Taiwan. Now there, people knew that when they prayed to the ancestors, it was to express appreciation, gratitude. It was not a religious worship in the usual sense. But the people in Taiwan who had converted to Catholicism or Christianity followed the same ideas. They began to see this practice as religious or even superstitious. And some of them have been taught that all prayers not directed to God went to Satan. And therefore, ancestor worship was the equivalent to devil worship. And this was incredible to me because I saw this practice as a thing of beauty. I did not realize that it could be so distorted. And it's gotten to the point where people who have converted to Catholicism or Christianity in homes where there are shrines set up for the ancestors, these people would refuse to go near the shrine. They would refuse to hold the incense sticks. They would even refuse to touch the food that had been prayed over, because everything associated with the ritual was tainted by the touch of the devil and therefore evil. And I even saw the same kind of ideas in books. So authors who, I sort of expected that they would do research. They would also write down similar concepts. So for instance, in one particular book, an author who was widely respected, a scientist, talked about irrational beliefs in the world. To illustrate his point, he pointed to ancient Chinese practices like, Jing, fortune telling, and ancestor worship. So when I saw that, it stood out for me because it was also equating ancestor worship with something that was primitive, outdated, superstitious. So the distortion is pretty widespread. And now the opportunity is that I can say, have this be recorded in a YouTube video that, listen, it's about gratitude and respect. And when we talk about gratitude and respect, it's actually the highest echelon of human emotions. And the expression that you see in the slide, drink water, think of source, it is most close associated with the practice. The idea is to never ever take anything for granted. When you quench your thirst with the water, don't forget the spring or the well where the water came from. As you enjoy your life, don't forget the source of your life. Without that source, without the well, you will not be drinking deeply. Without the source of life, you will not be alive. So this is just not taking your existence for granted, and think about the lives that your ancestors lived. They fought, they struggled, they lived, they loved, they survived. Good thing they did, It makes perfect sense that if you cherish yourself, you would also cherish your forebears, the people who came before you, the people who paved the way for you. So then, back to the point here. This is how it ties in with chapter 54. We're not talking about how the descendants of someone who's establishing a Tao practice will be praying to you in the future so that you will not curse them. What we're saying is that they will be expressing their gratitude for you having set up a tradition that is proactive, that is positive, that contributes to life in a meaningful way. That's what we're really talking about. So there you go. That is my personal actual experience dealing with the concept of ancestor worship. And now I think that you guys will come away with a clearer notion what it is and isn't. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us all travel safely so we can meet again. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.